He stood frozen on the pavement. His perfectly polished shoes stopped inches away from his little daughter, who was laughing and holding the hand of a woman dressed in rags. Her hair was messy, her face pale, and her clothes torn. Yet her eyes, those eyes carried something familiar. The CEO, Richard, couldn't understand why his heart suddenly pounded. And then the woman looked up, met his gaze, and whispered words that made his blood run cold. "I used to be your wife's nurse. What happened next changed Richard's life forever. Stay with us till the end. You don't want to miss what she reveals." And before we dive deeper into this emotional story, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Hopeful Stories, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss an inspiring story that touches your heart. The day had started like any other for Richard Wainwright, CEO of Wainwright Industries, a man whose name echoed in every corporate boardroom across the city. Success had wrapped around him like a second skin, tailored suits, luxury cars, and a penthouse overlooking the skyline. Yet, despite all his wealth, his heart carried an invisible weight. His wife, Emily, had passed away 3 years ago during childbirth, leaving behind their only daughter, Lily, a little girl with her mother's golden hair and her father's eyes. Richard had buried himself in work to escape the emptiness. He loved Lily but didn't know how to show it. Every morning, he would drop her at her private school, wave half-heartedly, and rush off to meetings. But that day, something unexpected happened. He had just finished a phone call outside a local cafe when he noticed a familiar giggle echoing from the park across the street. Turning his head, he saw Lily sitting on a bench, laughing with a woman he'd never seen before. She looked like she had been through years of hardship. Her clothes were old and faded, her shoes worn out. She was feeding pigeons beside his daughter, telling her stories animatedly as if they were old friends. Richard's first instinct was anger. Who was this stranger talking to his child? He crossed the street quickly, his polished shoes clicking on the pavement. As he approached, Lily jumped up happily. "Daddy, this is Aunt Mary," she said excitedly, holding the woman's hand. "She told me funny stories about Mommy." The name hit Richard like a wave. No one had talked to Lily about Emily in years. He couldn't bring himself to do it. His heart clenched. "Excuse me?" he said, his voice stern but trembling. "Who are you?" The woman stood slowly, meeting his gaze. Her eyes softened. "I used to be your wife's nurse," she said quietly. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. Richard's breath caught in his throat. "Emily's nurse?" But she had left the hospital staff right after Emily's death. He had never known her name, never wanted to revisit those painful memories. He stared, speechless, as the woman continued, her voice low and trembling. "I was there the day she passed. There's something I never got to tell you." Richard's heart began to pound. The sounds of the city faded, the cars, the chatter, everything. Only her voice remained. "Please," she said softly. "Let me explain." They sat on the park bench as Lily chased the pigeons nearby. The woman, Mary, told him how she had worked night shifts during Emily's pregnancy. "Your wife was the kindest person I ever met," she said, tears forming in her eyes. "She always asked about my daughter, how she was doing in school. You see, I was a single mother, and Emily used to secretly help me. She would leave envelopes for me saying they were from the hospital, but I knew it was her." Richard's chest tightened. Emily had always been like that. Gentle, selfless. Mary looked down at her trembling hands. "After she passed away, I couldn't bear to stay. I left the hospital. My life fell apart. My daughter got sick and I lost everything trying to save her." Her voice broke. "I didn't expect to ever see you again, sir. But when I saw your little girl, she looked so much like Emily. I couldn't help it. I wanted to talk to her, just once." Tears stung Richard's eyes. For years he had built walls around his pain, but here was a woman who reminded him of his wife's kindness, her warmth, her heart. He looked at Mary and saw not a beggar, but someone who carried a piece of Emily's memory. When Lily ran back, holding a small white flower she had picked, Richard took a deep breath and said quietly, "Come with us." Mary looked startled. "What?" He smiled faintly through his tears. "Come home with us. You were there for Emily. Maybe it's time I be there for you." And as they walked away together, a soft wind carried Emily's favorite scent through the air, jasmine and rain. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Hopeful Stories for more heartwarming stories that remind us kindness never dies, it just finds new paths. The following week, Mary moved into a small guest room in Richard's mansion. She insisted she didn't want charity, so Richard offered her a job as Lily's caretaker. For the first time in years, laughter filled the house again. Lily adored her, and even Richard felt a strange peace he hadn't known in a long time. One evening, as the sun painted golden streaks across the walls, Mary approached Richard holding a small faded envelope. Her hands trembled. "I found this among Emily's things back then," she said softly. "I kept it safe all these years. I think it's meant for you." Richard took the letter with shaking fingers. Emily's handwriting, the elegant curves, the familiar slant, made his eyes sting instantly. He unfolded it slowly. "My dearest Richard, if you're reading this, I may not be there to tell you myself. Please don't blame anyone. Life is fragile, and I know you'll take care of our child with all your heart. But I have one last wish. Don't close your heart to the world. Help others, love deeply, and remember, our daughter deserves to grow up surrounded by kindness, not silence. There's a nurse named Mary. She's been an angel to me. If she ever needs help, promise me you'll be there for her the way she was there for me. With all my love, Emily." Richard's tears fell freely now. He looked up at Mary, who stood quietly, her own eyes glistening. She knew," he whispered. Mary nodded. "She always thought about you and Lily, even in her last hours." That night, Richard sat with Lily asleep in his arms and looked out at the city lights. He realized that all the wealth in the world meant nothing if the heart stayed empty. He had spent years chasing success but forgotten the power of compassion, the same compassion Emily had lived by. From that day forward, Richard began something new, a foundation in Emily's name to support single mothers and nurses who had lost everything. He named it the Emily Hope Foundation. Mary became its first director. Years later, people across the city would talk about the CEO who rebuilt his life not through profits, but through love. And every evening, when the sun dipped below the skyline, Richard would watch Lily and Mary playing in the garden, feeling that maybe, just maybe, Emily was smiling somewhere above. If this story warmed your heart, please like this video and subscribe to Hopeful Stories, because sometimes a single act of kindness can change not just one life, but many.